Amigos WRO here. In today's video I am ranking the best mechanisms for sumo robots. This is part 2 of another mechanism video I made, so go check that out. Now let's get right into it. The first mechanism we have is the Lego brick separator. This mechanism is easily the best mechanism if you want to shove into the other robot and try to lift the other robot up. I think this mechanism is already amazing, but paired with other mechanisms can make this super deadly. Instead of trying to shove the other robot, being successful sometimes but other times the other robot is just able to run away, which is a really big weakness of the brick separator. This means if you can just avoid the front of the robot you would be fine, but it's not going as easy as you try to avoid the line of brick separators and go to the back of the other robot. You will be chased around by a terrifying large wide line of brick separators. Secondly, most sumo robots only have their special mechanism in the front of the robot because you need space to put the motors, and the brick separators actually take up a lot of space, so if you do try to make a pyramid it's going to be really crammed. Anyways, easily this mechanism is going into S tier. The next mechanism we have is the sideways/slanted lifting up mechanism thing. Now this mechanism is actually different from the forklift one because if lifting directly upwards it inward is slanted, so it kinda like turns the plate so the other robot can flip over. This is a mechanism that cannot do anything on its own, but if you pair it with the brick separators then that will be the most broken mechanism ever, because this mechanism fixes one thing that the brick separators can't do on its own, is actually lift the other robot up. And yes, you can lift the other robot by just running at the other robot and flipping the other robot over, but unless the other robot is just slow or bad it's not going to easily be flipped if it has a big wheel. To fix this problem we can use the slanted flipping mechanism to our advantage. Instead of chasing the other robot around to flip it, you can just flip it using the mechanism. This mechanism also isn't only limited to brick separators. You can also use the EV3 wing panels to shove into the other robot and lift them up, causing them to flip. However, there is one big downside though. As I said in my last video, using mechanisms is really dangerous because it uses at least one motor and maybe even more, but let's just say you use one motor, you will then most likely be absolutely overpowered by the robots with more drive motor robots, and even worse, I do not think one motor for special mechanism is even that good. It's probably going to be really hard because doing anything to a massive and heavy and strong sumo robot with only one motor is not going to cut it, so you are most likely to use one more. This means though that you are going to use only 2 motors for driving, which is absolutely going to be overpowered by 4 motor drive robots. So how a fight is going to go is that you using 2 motors on drive and 2 motors on mechanism fight a 4 full drive motor robot. Firstly, the other robot is going to charge at you because they have more motors, which means more speed. Then you are going to try to use the mechanism you have, which could actually go either, because if you actually hit the other robot you will have a very high chance of winning, but if the other robot kind of just walk around and try to get to your side and you hit the wrong spot, you are going to be in a very bad position. However, if that is your game plan to bait the other robot to think that you accidentally pull the trigger at the wrong time to bait the other robot in and gain his side, then that's good too. However, most of the time it isn't going to go your way and the other robot will smash you. I am not saying having mechanisms is bad or anything, but you just have to be really smart about it. Learning to move the right way, find out your opponent's weaknesses is essential to win in sumo. So for now I recommend to you don't use mechanisms first, then after you learn to move well, you can move up to using more advanced mechanisms on this list. I am giving the mechanism A tier as it is good, but I recommend the easier ones. The next mechanism is like if you don't have any mechanisms but you voluntarily only use 2 motors. This spinning mechanism does almost nothing because there's almost nothing you can lift the other robot up with. Most sumo robots are fully protected. The spinning things are not going to do anything unless the thing you're spinning are sticky wheels or the other robot is just bad. If you do have really stick wheels and you are able to just smash to his side, then that can be very deadly, but if you get your opponent's side you are going to win with any other mechanism anyways. A mechanism we are looking for can beat other robots without even needing to go to the side, and this mechanism needs you to get really close to the robot and just pull him upwards, which is really awkward and really easy to just avoid unless you lead the other robot to all wall, then that would be really good. Other Alt mechanism is not really good, but it doesn't have any really bad things. But yes, again, you do need probably 2 motors for this mechanism, which means it's going to be really bad. I am giving this mechanism a low B tier. The next mechanism we have is a spinning wheel in the front. This mechanism is one of the very few mechanisms that could possibly beat the brick separators mechanism, not in rankings but just be a counter to it. So this mechanism beats the brick separator mechanism by just destroying it. If the brick separators mechanism isn't well built and fortified, it could possibly just be taken out by a simple spinning wheel if you lift the spinning wheel up, because if you lift the spinning wheel up, the brick separators can't really hit you because their body is going to hit the spinning wheel first, and that spinning wheel isn't going to be hit by the brick separators because it's lifted above the ground. That means the spinning wheel will directly hit where the brick separators are fortified on, which if the fortifications are not strong could break the brick separators. However, this mechanism has no way of actually making the other robot flip over or anything, it just breaks the not very strong mechanism things. I am giving this mechanism a B tier as it's not very good, but its brother is definitely better. Next mechanism we have is the older, stronger brother of these spinning mechanism, which is the swinging side hammer. In the last mechanism video we covered a hammer that came from the top, but this one swings from the side. Yes, again, you do need some quite heavy Lego parts to actually make this useful, but I personally think it does pay off as it is another one of the only mechanisms to be able to break the brick separators. The swinging side hammer, if used correctly and made correctly, is probably the most dangerous mechanisms out there. Yes, you do need some really good mechanism parts to pull it off, but I do think it's very worth it. Yes, if you aren't able to hit the other robot in time, they could just ram into you, but also you could just make the swinging hammer go both ways, so if you do miss, you have a little window to press the button again, walk backwards, and possibly hit the other robot with the strong hammer. It's definitely going to be worth it, because I am telling you, if done right, the force you can generate is massive, being able to swiftly knock away other robots to the side. Even heavy ones. For the heavy ones you probably need 2 geared up NXT motors and a lot of weight to do any damage. However, if you do hit this on a brick separators mechanism robot, the other robot is absolutely cooked, smashing through the brick separators and destroying absolutely everything. However, like every other mechanism, there is a weakness. Yes, the mechanism is really good for destruction, but the goal for sumo bots are to bring the other robot down, and this mechanism isn't really made for that. If your goal is to just smash the other robot, then good for you, but most of us are trying to win. But this doesn't mean this mechanism can't win, it just has to take a bit of time so that the robot can smash through the other robot's mechanisms and make the other robot's mechanisms absolutely useless, therefore your robot winning in the long run. This is an amazing strategy if you are skilled at controlling the robot. However, even if you are not skilled, you could probably hit the other robot a few times due to the hammer being a very dangerous obstacle. There are not a lot of possible ways to counter this mechanism, but you also can't really hit the other robot, so most of the time it becomes a stalemate, or one of the robots make a mistake, or there's a gimmick in the competition. For example, the circle will get smaller and smaller until one robot gets thrown off or destroyed, or another case to break the tie is you lure the robot to a corner by faking to hit them with the hammer and then go for it. However, you do need some skill to pull this off, and again, this mechanism you need a lot of stuff for, but I do think it is very worth it if you are good enough. So I am giving this mechanism a high B tier. Finally, I have the mechanism newer people think are good but are not good at all in any way or category. Having a spear in your mechanism is one of the worst things ever, as it practically does nothing. The other robot definitely isn't going to be bad enough for a simple spear to destroy their mechanism, and even worse, spears are easily broken as they are just long sticks, and long things are broken easily unless they are thick, and thick sticks aren't spears, they are beams, but thick beams are heavy and can break as well, so it's just bad if you want to use these sticks. Yes, you can neutralize a brick separators and other mechanisms that require you to get close, but it also means you can't hit them. The best you can get out of these beam spears are a stalemate because nobody hits anybody, which is a very bad scenario. I am easily giving this mechanism C tier. Thanks for watching, please subscribe.